This conference will now be recorded. This
Of
conference will
AWS,
now be recorded.
the core services of AWS Cloud, core in the sense like the basic services of AWS Cloud, and we only give the high level in today's session. Going forward, coming up sessions, I will go very in detail of these basic other core services as well. But today I just give you a high level overview of these basic services. Without these services, you won't be able to build your IT infrastructure in cloud. We'll give you a high level overview today and we'll go in depth in our coming up sessions. Okay, so this is the agenda for today. What is VPC? What is EC2? We'll understand these terminologies and the full form today. Okay, so that it is not very much new when we go very much detail of this each and every service in our session. VPC, EC2, RDS, and Amazon S3. We're gonna talk about these four services which are core AWS services today, and we'll understand what are these services, where actually we're gonna use, and what is the purpose of using this. Let me quickly move on to my the first topic, which is VPC. Before getting to there, let me pictorially explain what it is exactly is. So let's keep this session as an interactive session. Um, I'll ask you a few questions in the sense if you are aware of few things, please feel free to answer me so that it will be easy for me to move forward. Okay, let me. So everybody is familiar with Facebook.
Yes.
Good. So let's. I'll take an example of Facebook so that it will be easy for you guys to understand before I directly dive into the topic. Your home page. Okay, so let's take an example of Facebook. When you actually log into your Facebook account, what do you normally see? You see your home page. The first page that you see is your home page, isn't it? So and you can also view your friend's homepage, and if I give access to my homepage, you can also view take a look at my homepage as well. But when you log in, you have your homepage, correct? And that homepage is very much private for you unless you give access to anybody else or any of your friends or any of your colleagues or relatives, unless you specifically give access, which means that unless you send an invite to view your content on your page, nobody else can take a look at it. Nobody else can have access to your content, isn't it? So this is something very much private to you. This is private. Unless you allow them somebody to access it, it is not accessible. Correct? So, and similarly with the others, if I wanted to give access to anybody else, I can give. Only then somebody can take a look at it. If it is you, only you can be able to access it. If not, you cannot. Similarly with the others, my friend's homepage. So this is my private area. So I can decide like who to give access and who not to give access. So whatever the content that I have, like I could have photos, videos, what else, data. I could have any of this in my home page, and I can give access to only those things based on my will. So I'm deciding what and all I have to share to my external people, like my friends or colleagues. So it is not something like whatever I put it here by default it has been accessible with somebody else, or whatever I have put it here it is not accessible to anybody else except me. No, I would decide whether to give access or not. Based on that, somebody else can take a look at my data. So this is something my private page, and I would be deciding what has to be done over here. So this is something in the Facebook. So now coming back to our topic, this is the same way. Now we are talking about VPC. VPC is called Virtual Private Cloud. So we are not having any physical server with us. That's what we have discussed on the first day, if you have gone through the video. So everything is virtual here, so you're not having your physical machine with you. This is somewhere in the internet or in the cloud, and we are just accessing that particular server. And and as I said, this is something private to you. This is not accessible by everybody unless you provide access, unless you give access to anybody else. So it is something private to you, correct? So this is called virtual private cloud. Let's understand what this is. Let's, like I shown you in the Facebook, you have your home page. This is my home page, and this is your home page. Similarly, this is my this is your virtual private cloud. Think that this is your virtual private cloud, and this is my virtual private cloud, and this is your friend's virtual private cloud. So what, any resource, any service of AWS which you wanted to use and you want it for your own, and it is something you wanted to decide whether that service can be accessible by outside world, outside users, or somebody else in the other VPC. It is something you will be deciding. So you have the complete control of your services which are there in your VPC, okay, so that you can take a decision to grant or don't grant accesses to it. So this is something private to you, just like your Facebook homepage. Similarly, the same case with the others as well. So if I have to give, I would be giving based on my decision. Similarly with the others. So now that at a high level, think that VPC is something a very private environment, okay, where you can place your AWS services, and you decide in giving access to anybody else based on your requirement. So at a high level, think that this is a private area where whatever you put it in here, okay, it is not accessible by default to anybody else unless you give them access to it. Okay, think that way for now. Like when we go in detail of VPC section, you'll know, you'll understand the depth of it. For now, think that this is a private area where you will be deciding whether to give access or not give access to the any of these components. Facebook, you have photos, videos, whereas in AWS VPC, you will be putting your AWS services. Okay, so that's what VPC is at a very high level. Clear? Then we're moving on to the EC2 instance, which is the next topic. So what is EC2? EC2 is called, or the full form of EC2 is Elastic Cloud Compute. The full form of EC2 is, why they have put EC2? EC2 is ECC, which means that Elastic Cloud Compute. Since you have two C's, they say simply EC2. Now, what is this EC2? Let's understand that. Uh, let's say you have your EC2, okay, and I'll also talk about this why I'm putting this computer over here. Normally, what does a computer will have? A CPU, okay, operating system, hard disk, network card, firewall, RAM, and few more small components, but these are the main components, isn't it? Normally any CPU, normally any computer or else your laptop will have these components. So EC2 is something exactly the same. So EC2 is nothing but your computer, or else sometimes they also say server. So normally any computer or server, what they have, these are the components. So that's what I have put it in my diagram. Now if you see, EC2 is something which is equal to your computer. Either it could be a laptop or a desktop or your whatever it is. So whichever has these components. So normally any computer will definitely will have these components: CPU, operating system, hard drive, all these components. Making all of this work is one computer, isn't it? So now that we are talking about EC2, which is Amazon Elastic Cloud Compute, okay, so think that EC2 is your computer which has all of this. Don't think beyond that. For now, let's understand what the basic thing of any service, the core services which you're going to discuss. Think that EC2 is something is like your computer which has all of these components. And if you see down below, I have also mentioned as an instance. So since we are in Amazon cloud, we are talking about Amazon cloud, so there is some terminology that we have to follow. So EC2 is also termed as instance, EC2 instance. So instead of computer or a server, going forward in my coming up sessions, since we have to use the AWS or the cloud terminology, I would be saying EC2 instance instead of saying a computer. Okay, I would be calling it as EC2 instance. So don't get confused. If I say EC2 instance, think that it is your computer somewhere in the internet, somewhere in the cloud. Okay, so that's what the high level understanding of EC2 as of now. If you see the book's definition, EC2 is a virtual computer that you can use whatever you like, web hosting and processing activity. So now that you have your computer with all of these components, which is also I'm calling it as an EC2 instance, right? So what and all this can do? So normally what your computer would do, it would store your data. Normally you store your data. Okay. You can install your applications, whatever you want. You can process your data, which is also called computing in cloud terminology. Processing activity is something called computing. That is where it is called elastic cloud compute. Compute is called as processing. Both are equal. So EC2 instance is something like your computer which normally used it for your processing of your data, storing of your data, like storing of your files, photos, videos, whatever it is. So what and all you use your computer, you can also use the same way the EC2. Correct? So this is what an EC2 is, the high level definition of it. So we'll go in depth of each and every service when we go in the coming up sessions. So I would have a separate 1 hour session on this EC2. I'd have a separate 1 hour session of on every topic But for now, since I'm talking about the core basic services, we'll just take a high level introduction of these services so that it will not be new for you when I go a in detail session of this. Okay, so that's what EC2. Now that think that when I say EC2 instance, think that this is just like your computer. What and all you can do with your laptop or computer, you would do the same thing with EC2 in the cloud. Okay, so moving on to my next topic or the next service, RDS. This RDS is called as Relational Database Service. Now let's spend some time in understanding this because this is a little big topic. Let's spend some time in understanding this now. And I also wanted to introduce a few terminologies, just like I have introduced the instance. You also call this EC2 instance. Similarly, we have few terminologies which we keep on using in our cloud, Amazon cloud. Let's understand what those terminology is, what those terms are in detail. Okay, quickly moving on to this example. If you see it, I have put a diagram over here and this is one more picture. Let's understand this picture now before I deep dive into this RDS service. So basically RDS is Relational Database Service. This is the full form of RDS. Is AWS provisioned database service commonly used for things like storing customer info and catalog inventory. Okay, so I think most of you are from SQL background, so you know what a database is. Or else do you want me to give an overview of database also?
No, we are good. Thank
We are good.
you. Yeah.
Uh, Let me check with others who are there as well. Okay. Okay. So if anybody want to know what a database is, just let me know so that I can explain you at a high level what a database would be. Okay. Feel free to ask your question there. Now, okay, let me quickly move on to this topic. Okay. So now everybody is aware of Netflix application. I hope everybody is very much familiar with this, just like it is our Amazon Prime. So this diagram, if you see, I have put two boxes, one AWS, and in that I have a very small box, which is I'm saying VPC. So the first box which you see here, this is I'm representing as this box, whatever the outer box that you see, that is my AWS environment. I'm supposing that this is my AWS environment. So whatever that I am using in this box is all something related to my AWS services. Okay, in that I have put another small box which is I'm saying as VPC. Correct? VPC, what we understood so far, it is my virtual private cloud, which is my private area. If I am creating my infrastructure, I would be putting it my VPC because that is those are my services. I am paying for those services. So that should be mine. Unless I give access to anybody else, it should be in my cloud environment. So I'm gonna put it in my VPC. So whatever that you put it in my VPC box, all are private to me. Okay, so unless I give access to anybody else, nobody else can take a look at it or access those services. So that's what we know, what a VPC now. Okay, now in this VPC, I'm if you see a look, if you take a look at it, I have put an EC2 instance. Okay, and then I have put my RDS service. So let's see, if I take an example of a Netflix, I said EC2 instance is normally you use it for computing, like processing your data or utilizing your EC2 instance for deploying your applications so that it would process your data as well. Let's say, take an example, Netflix is deployed in this machine. Netflix application is deployed in this machine And normally how you are going to access your Netflix application? What you will do, you normally type www.netflix.com. This is what we do. So we try to access our netflix.com by using a URL, isn't it? So when you type in netflix.com on your browser, it is launching you a page where it is asking you to sign in. If you already have an account of Netflix, you log in, or else you will create a new account. So there is somewhere this Netflix is being installed in some machine which you don't know as an end user, but the only thing you know is this URL. When you type this URL, it is trying to hit that particular machine where this Netflix is been installed, Netflix application is been installed, okay, and it is launching you this page. So that is what it is happening over here. So let's say let's think of there is only one user now. There is only one user. Forget about these users. There is one user, which is me. I have typed in www.netflix.com. So when I type this, and Netflix has given an access to outside users, so I'm able to access this home page. So that's where that you
Hello?
see that screen. Hello?
Hello? Hi, this is Richard.
Yes, Richard. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. We just started just a 5 minutes back the session.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe the Go Online Training will share you the training video. Maybe you can take a look at it once it is done, whatever that you have missed so far. It's just a 5 minute. Okay, if
Okay.
you have any questions, just feel free to ask it maybe in tomorrow session or sometime, whenever you feel free.
Okay.
Yep, all right. So so when somebody types netflix.com, they're seeing that home page, which is not a your home page. It is just a high level home page, like to create an account or register yourself or to log in. So that home page is something coming from and server, which is Netflix is installed in that, isn't it? So let's suppose that I have access www.netflix.com on a browser, and I'm able to see that screen, which means that I'm trying to access a machine which is EC2 instance, which the Netflix application is being installed. So that's where like I'm getting that page response. Okay, so now I just got the page response, which means that my Netflix application is installed in this machine. I'm not talking about RDS yet. Think that I'm just accessing my Netflix application. Okay, so the Netflix application is installed in this, which means that my Netflix files, the pages, HTML pages, okay, the war file, whatever the application, the code of my Netflix code files, everything is been deployed or installed in this EC2 instance. So that is where when I say www.netflix.com, it is hitting this machine and finding out that particular page in that netflix.com, okay, and giving me that particular page as a response. So when I click on sign in or register, it will again hit back this instance, okay, and find out that appropriate page, which would be a login page. If I click on sign in, it will give me a login page, isn't it? So that page will be triggered and it will be given as a response to me. And I'll be normally putting my username and password, and again I'll click on submit, so that it again goes back to the EC2 instance to perform the next action. So for now, I to understand EC2 instance, this is like your computer wherein which netflix.com application is being placed, which means that it is installed. Okay, so this is like acting as a web hosting. server. So my netflix.com application is been set up in this machine. This is like acting as a web hosting for an end user. Okay, so when I type in the netflix.com, it is going to this machine, okay, and giving me the appropriate response, whether it is as login screen or the home screen to register or sign in, whatever it is based on my action. Correct? So the first thing when I type in netflix.com in the browser, it gives me a home page where you asking for a register or login. When I click on sign in, it is again going back to this instance and giving me the login screen. So I'll give you the login credentials, username and password. Now when I give my username and password credentials and I click on submit, it again goes back to this EC2 instance, and now it has to validate those username and password. As I said, this is just a web hosting service, web hosting machine. It doesn't have any data which has to be validated. So RDS is something, a relational database service, where it stores your customer information. The first thing is it stores the customer information. Let's say you have put your username and password. So it goes back when you click on the submit, it goes back with those details to this machine. But there is something has to be validated with whatever the input that he has given with your input, the username and password. So that is something which is not here. So your application is using a database where you gonna validate your user credentials. So what it actually do, since the netflix.com is using a RDS service in Amazon, it would connect to that particular RDS service, which is your database, Netflix database, and it will find out whether the username and password entered by this user is existing in the database or not. If it is existing, whether that username and password is valid username and password, whether he has put in correct username and password or not. So that is something, the customer information. So which means that if I go back, to this, so when I say this particular user is trying to access my AWS environment, and this is my VPC, and I have my EC2 instance over here, and it is connected to my RDS. Okay, so I am accessing my EC2. It is going back and forth based on my access or the request. So it is coming over here and is talking to RDS and getting back. So RDS is, like I said, as a relational database. So everything is been set it in tables. RDS is a relational database. So let's say if this is a login table, I will have all my data like username, password, okay, the customer information, and what would be the email of that particular user, phone number. So I would be capturing all of this, okay, and these are the customer information. Let's say this is Chandra, sorry, this is username, this is number 1 2 3 4, and this is, like, I would say Chandra as a username, and I would give some password. Similarly Srinivas, I would say some password. And now if somebody, let's say Richard, doesn't have an account and he's trying to access for the first time netflix.com, okay, and what he do, he would get a page where to register or sign in. So when he click on register, he would be giving all of his details, right? His name, okay, his password or the email, phone number, whatever the registered page, registration page asks for. So when he says, when he key in all his details and click on submit, it will create an entry in this table. Richard, his password, his email, his phone number. So it creates a record in the database. So that is where it is storing the customer information in the RDS. So this is how the data is stored in your RDS. So everything has been stored in rows and columns. So everything is in rows and columns here. So now when Srinivas want to access, like he already registered and he has his customer information in one of the RDS tables. So now when he try to access and he gives his username and password, it goes here and it finds out whether this Srinivas is already registered or not. It comes over here and checks for its record, and it's not just checking its record, it also has to validate the username and password that Srinivas has entered. So it will check for the username and password whether those two are appropriate or correct based on the data that it is there in the particular table. And if it is fine, and it returns back saying success, and it comes back with the user saying it will launch the home page of that particular user. So that's what it is happening over here now. So since I have an account, I would be logging in. So when I clicked on logging in, it is asking me for my credentials. So I would give my credentials. Now I click on sign in. So that would take me my home page, isn't it? So I have logged into my home page now. This is what my home page. My credentials are validated and it is launched my home page. Now I told you the customer information is stored in my RDS service. In my RDS service. So when I logged in, I also see the catalog information. These are the movies based on the categories the Netflix has been segregated. So this is again the catalog information. So I can go and see what are the movies or what are the TV series. Normally Netflix is for this entertainment channel where you have all your TV series, movies, right? Uh, uh, TV shows, live channels and all. So it has been categorized and segregated in such a way that it will be easy as an end user for us to watch them. So this is like a catalog page for Netflix when I log in. So this is also maintained in the database because everything has to be segregated accordingly, right? So this is something trending now, and see these are some original series of Netflix and the kid programs and all. So this is something as segregated. So as I mentioned here, just like the login table, you will be having a catalog table where you will be putting all your catalog details in RDS. So this is something like your catalog table.
Quick question.
Yes, Richard.
What is VPC?
Okay. So okay, let me take 1 or 2 minutes. Like
Okay.
VPC is virtual, which we actually covered it. So VPC, EC2 instance, RDS, Amazon S3. These are the core basic Amazon services. So today's session, I'm actually going and giving an overview of all these services, but we'll go in detail of each and every service in our coming up sessions. I'm gonna spend like 1 to 2 hours in each topic. But today, since these are the basic core services of AWS, like without these services, you won't be able to set up your AWS environment. So I wanted to highlight these services and give an high level overview of this. So to your answer, the VPC is like your private environment, which means that if you have your Facebook account, when you log into your Facebook, you have your homepage, and that is private to you. Unless you give access to somebody else, you send an invite to somebody else, nobody else can view your content, like photos or videos, whatever it is, isn't it? So it is similarly the same way in the AWS environment. You gonna put your services, and that is something you have to put it in your VPC. It's not just like you put it somewhere else. So because that those are your services and you gonna use it, you have to keep it in your private environment. and it is something you're going to decide whether you give access to somebody else or not. But by default you're going to put it in your environment, so that is private to you, only you can access it. So that is something VPC, which is called virtual private cloud. uh, Clear, Richard? Hello. Can I move on? Hello. Did I answer that question? Richard, I can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So this is the same thing now. This is the outer box is AWS environment, and the inner box is a VPC, which I told you, virtual private cloud, which is your own private area. See, AWS can be accessed by anybody else, isn't it? So this is the public area, and this is something your private area. VPC is your private area. So what and all you create, what and all you are gonna use the AWS services, that is private to you. Unless you get access, nobody can access it. So now I'm taking an example of a Netflix. Okay, I'm the owner of Netflix. Let's say I have deployed my Netflix application in one of this EC2 instance. Okay, so I have given access to the outside world. Okay, and some of the users are trying to access it. So when they say www.netflix.com, they would get a page, okay, based on the registration or the sign in. The customer details have been validated with the RDS. So it goes to RDS, which is a database of Netflix, and validate it and comes back with the appropriate response page. So now when I logged into my netflix.com, this is the page that I have got with all the catalog information. So all this catalog information that I see, it has to be stored somewhere, because this is again just like your data, isn't it? So this is somewhere again stored in your RDS. So in the RDS there would be some catalog information table where I will maintain all of this. Let's say you saw the trending, isn't it? The category called trending, and a category called originals. So I'll be setting up that catalog information, okay, with all the details. So that is where when you second time when you log in with the username credentials, it's again going back and launching this catalog. It is accessing all of the data in the catalog table, and it is launching that page with all the catalog information and going back to the user. So this is what I see when I log into my Netflix page. This is what I see. So normally RDS stores the customer information table, customer information, and also the inventory catalog. That's what we see now, the catalog information. So it's not just the customer information or the catalog information, anything that the data that is there which can be represented in text, okay, or in rows and columns, we're gonna use RDS service. RDS is our simple relational database service. Now, since I took an example of Netflix, and there is some user which is trying to access this netflix.com, and he would be accessing it through RDS with the customer information, correct? So we understood this thing now. Now I wanted to introduce, there are four concepts here. One is highly availability, fault tolerant, scalability, and elasticity. So these cloud terminology. Let's understand first what these are, what these mean, and then we can follow this terminology. Going forward, we keep on saying that scalability, elasticity, all this, but it's not just we're gonna say, we need to understand what this is, right? So let's understand the scalability first. uh, since everybody is familiar with Netflix, okay, let's suppose that every day at 7 p.m., okay, there is a huge traffic to the Netflix application. Normally on a daily basis, okay, since no everybody goes to their office, they do their work, and they come back in the evening, and they have some personal time in the evening, And normally what we do, let's say we are accessing, we wanted to watch a movie and we are accessing netflix.com. So let's suppose that from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. there is a huge traffic to this application, netflix.com. So normally from day morning till 7 o'clock there's a normal traffic, but from 7 p.m. to around like 11 p.m. or 12, let's suppose that there is a huge traffic, there are a lot of users trying to access your netflix.com, and which is there within this machine, and based on your response or the request, it is going to the RDS and giving you response, whatever we have discussed so far. Now instead of one user, I wanted to bring in multiple users trying to access your netflix.com. If your instance, I said like EC2 is your just like your normal computer, and which does your computing, processing your data or your web hosting application, just like a netflix.com is hosted in this, correct? So now when multiple users are trying to access this, okay, and your computer or your EC2 instance should be capable enough to take this load. Let's say normally in a day you get 100 requests per second, but from 7 p.m. to 12 p.m. you might get 500 requests per second, isn't it? So your computer should be capable enough to take that load and process everybody's request. That is how the Netflix will always up and running, it will not be down, isn't it? Let's say your instance, there is only one computer where you have installed your netflix.com, and there are hundreds and thousands of users trying to access from 7 p.m. and if your computer is not able to take that load, it will be crashed, isn't it? It will be crashed, and the netflix.com, when you type in netflix.com, it will not come up, it will say server is down or you cannot access your Netflix, some error message you would get it in your browser, which means that something got happened which we don't know, but what we know is netflix.com is down. That's what we know as an end user, but there could be a lot of reasons why this is down. The one example would be if your machine, your EC2 instance is not able to take that huge load, it will be crashed, and which means that your application is down, Netflix is down. So and every user who's trying to access, they cannot access that, so that's where I put it in cross, so nobody is able to access netflix.com now, correct? So to avoid this or to resolve this, cloud is providing, Amazon cloud is providing a concept called scalability. What it actually means, let's take a look at this example now. Let's take a look at this example. Now you know this, when there is one machine, one user, this is fine, but if there are multiple users, if you have only one machine and this machine is not capable of taking that load, it's gonna crash and nobody else will access it, isn't it? So now what actually this scalability does, what it actually does, let's say this would take only 100 requests per second, and you got 500 requests, or let's say 200 requests, but this capacity of this EC2 instance is only 100, and if it is too many of more than 100, this definitely would crash. So what it actually does, Amazon would create a similar kind of EC2 instances based on the requirement. Let's say if it is 200, it needs one more machine to handle the 100 more requests, isn't it? 100 more traffic. It will divert the traffic to another EC2 instance. It is exactly the same instance of this. Both are same. But since there is a huge traffic, since this cannot be able to take it, it will automatically create another instance and serve the other users. Okay. Similarly with the others. If there is, if this machine can take the extra load, it would take. If this is also not taking, it would create another EC2 instance and that would serve the other customers. Okay, this is what it happens. So let's say from 7, as I said, like 7 to 11, there is a huge traffic. And since there is a huge traffic, there is a lot of instances got created, and all the users are not impacted because all these are same virtual machines. It's not just this machine is different, this machine is different. Every machine Netflix is installed, okay, and every customer has been accessed, because now there is no chance of crashing it, because there is, whenever there is a heavy load, if this machine is not able to take it, it would create a new one, and this would serve the customer. And if this is not even taking it, then it will create a new machine. So that is how n number of machines will be created based on the traffic that is coming in. Okay, now after 11 p.m. the traffic is down again, it has come down to 100, but we have created these many servers, isn't it? So there is no need of these servers now. So what it will do, it will decommission these servers. So it will be again one or two based on the traffic that it has at that moment. If it is 200, it will keep two, okay, and it will decommission the extra instances. And this is done automatically. It's not something any user would manually do it. So how it will be done and all, like we will see it in our later sessions when we talk about our EC2 service in detail. But for now, understand how the user flow would be, right? Whenever there is a heavy traffic, it will automatically create the number of instances and serve the traffic or serve the users, so that users will not get impacted that netflix.com is down. Now when there is traffic is low, it will automatically decommission those services, so the EC2 instance, and it will keep only the appropriate instances, and it will serve the traffic, so that you are not wasting your resources, you're not paying extra to the unused resources, right? So this is what I was talking about in this diagram. So if this user trying to access too much of traffic, it will create number of instances, and it's not that it will create n number of instances at a time based on the traffic. If it is needed only one instance, it will create one instance and it will serve. And if this instance is also not able to take that load, it will create another instance then, and it will serve the traffic to the user. So one after the other it will create based on the traffic that it has. It will not create all the instances at once and serve it. Okay, so what it is happening, what actually it is doing here now, there is one instance first, and based on the traffic it is keep on increasing the instances, which is means that it is scaling the instances, scaling your servers, it is increasing your servers, which is called scalability. This is what scalability is, which means that you are increasing or scaling up your instances or the servers based on the traffic, user traffic that you have at that point of time, which is called scalability. Now, elasticity. What is elasticity? I said when there is a heavy traffic, you are increasing your instances. But after 11 p.m., there is a down in traffic, isn't it? It has came down from 500 to 100 requests, 100. So then, what are the instances that you have created is of no use. You can service those users with one instance itself. So what you will do, you would decommission these services instances, isn't it? It will destroy these extra instances. So you are decreasing your instances now. So you are able to increase using scalability, and you are able to decrease using elasticity. Elasticity is your like a rubber band, you are increasing and decreasing. Okay, these two are interrelated. So when you talk about scaling, when you talk about increasing your servers, then you say scaling up, you are scaling those servers. Okay, but when you are decreasing and increasing your servers, that is like your rubber band, you are elasting, it is like elastic. So you are increasing and decreasing, so that is called elasticity. So both can be possible. So when there is a need, you are increasing, when there is no need, you are decreasing your servers. So this is called scalability and elasticity. So when I say going forward, scaling up, which means that you are scaling your servers. When I say it has this elasticity, which means that you can scale up and scale down, you can increase your servers, you can decrease your servers. Following? So now I wanted to bring up high availability and fault tolerance. So now based on the heavy traffic, you have increased your servers so that your users will not get impacted. When these many users are trying to access netflix.com, I'm increasing based on the traffic so that no user would get impacted that your netflix.com is down, isn't it? So why I'm doing this? So that no user will get impacted. So which means that I'm making sure that my netflix.com is always available to the end customers, so it's never down. Okay, so there could be a chance it's not just because of a heavy traffic this instance might get crashed. There could be a lot of other reasons. There would be network issue. Okay, there could be some hard disk or the processor might get crashed. There could be a lot of reasons, correct? It's not just network traffic. So but as a part of highly available, I have to make sure whatever the reason would be, if this is crashed, I have to create a new one and serve my user traffic. So I am making sure always my netflix.com is available irrespective of whatever the reason would be. If this is crashed, it would create a new one and serve the traffic. So I am making sure my netflix.com is always available. So with this scalability and elasticity, you are indirectly serving your high availability, because I'm serving my users based on the traffic, which making sure the user is not impacted, which is indirectly saying my application is always available to the end users, correct? So this is making sure like your application is always available to the end users. Now what is fault tolerant? So as I said, it's not just because of your traffic this is got crashed. There could be any other reason. Okay, so let's suppose that this is crashed. So what it is happening, it is creating a new machine. It is creating a new machine. So irrespective of what this fault is, it is not bothering about what this problem is. Okay, and do I need to fix this problem? Until then what I have to, until then I will not be serving my customer. No, if this is crashed, what it actually do, it will create a new machine and serve the traffic there, and it will least bother of this machine, because instead of debugging and fixing the problem over here, it will be easy for the environment to create a new instance just like similar to this machine and serve the traffic. This is brand new machine, brand new server where your netflix.com is installed, so there is no chance of having a corruption. The hard disk got uh, corrupted, or a ram got corrupted or something like that, because this is a brand new server. Unless it is not able to take that load, there won't be any issue with the newly created server. So that is where, so when there is a problem with any of the server, okay, first thing what it will do, it will create a new machine and make sure that the user who is trying to access, he is addressed first, and in the meanwhile it will try to see this crashed instance whether it can uh, pick up this again back to normal or not. Let's say some servers, if you just restart it, it will come back fine. Sometimes it will not, isn't it? So it will have some troubleshooting mechanism where it will try to do in the meanwhile, but if that is also not working out, it will simply decommission it, it will create a new one. But while doing this, it will not wait, it will not make the user wait to access it. It will create a new one and it will serve the traffic, but in the meanwhile it will do in the backend. So that is what fault tolerant is. Though your instance of the server is corrupted, it's not working fine, the user is not impacted anytime. So this is what, now you have understood this terminology. What is scalability? Increasing of your machines based on the traffic that you have. Elasticity is your increasing and decreasing of your servers or the services. Here I am talking about EC2 instance, but when you go in detail in our coming sessions, we're gonna do the same thing with the different services of AWS. We'll look into that, but understand the concept now. What is scalability? What is elasticity? What is high availability and a fault tolerant? Clear on this before I move on to the next? Shall I move on? Okay, so this is what the topics are, and the RDS we know well where we are using it for the customer information and the catalog information, and we also understood the concepts: scalability, elasticity, high availability, and a fault tolerant. Now let's dive into this next service, which is called S3. It is also called simple storage service. So simple storage service, this is a, I would say, an unlimited storage. Okay, so let's dive into this example, the same old example which we are referring to. I have an user and trying to access netflix.com. He has typed in www.netflix.com, username and password, and it has gone to the RDS as a customer information. It has validated this information. It has gone to the and the catalog
Hello?
information page, the page that
Uh,
this
I'm
page.
sorry.
Yeah.
I think I keep losing you. Like bad connection. Hello?
Okay. Did you miss anything? Or you're not? I'm not audible.
I missed the last few things you were saying in the from the PowerPoint slide.
Elasticity. Elasticity. Which one you missed,
Uh,
Richard?
the next slide. The next slide.
This one.
S3.
Next
He's
slide.
talking about S3.
Yeah, yeah. The next slide.
S3.
S3. Yes. S3. Yes.
S3. S3 I just started. So S3 is called simple storage service. Three S's. That's where they say S3. Okay. Now let's see what this S3 is. Let me give you an practical example before I deep dive into this thing. So we are actually discussing on the Netflix as an example, isn't it? So when you type in www.netflix.com on your browser, what it actually do, it will launch you a page to register or sign in, correct? So when you do that, it goes to this particular server where your netflix.com application is installed. Okay, and when you give your username and password, it will go to this database where you have your customer information captured in tables. Okay, and you will validate your data. Okay, and then comes back with your home page with a catalog information, correct? So now this is what, when you log into your netflix.com with your username and password, this is what the screen that you see based on your setting, whatever you watch it, isn't it? So this is my catalog information, the list of movies or the TV series that I have. This is my home page. Now this is again came back from my catalog information. So when I logged in, I have got this catalog information, went to this server, and again I've got that page, this page. Now this is all there in the RDS, the customer information and the catalog information. Then why I need a S3 bucket? You might have a question, isn't it? So S3 is for a massive storage. So what we have in Netflix, you have all movies, TV series. It's a huge files, isn't it? Each file is of 10 TB, 4 GB, sorry, 10 GB, 4 GB, 2 GB. So there's a lot of huge movie files that are placed here, and so that you can view online, isn't it? So where this gonna be placed, that is something we have to see. So because this is unlimited, this is huge data, huge memory of movie files, you gonna use it for netflix.com. So what happens? So I said, like, RDS has been used only to capture your customer information and the catalog information, but you need to view your movies online. That's what Netflix application is, isn't it? So you have to store your all video files somewhere where you cannot store in the RDS, because RDS is everything is in rows and columns. You only can store your customer data or the inventory data, but not huge files like movie files. Okay, so for that to store, you have to have some service which is unlimited storage, isn't it? So that is where S3 comes in. Simple storage service. This is a massive storage service where you can store anything, a document, movie files, okay, audio files, video files, which is of unlimited size. This is unlimited storage. As I said, unlimited, there would be some limit, but you will not know. For us, it is unlimited. But Amazon has some limit, whereas this S3 would have. But for us, it should be unlimited. You can store any number of huge number of files into this bucket. There is no way that this is gonna uh, what is that come into an end. This bucket will be full. No, this is an unlimited storage. You can store huge number of files and any number of files. So since Netflix is a heavy loaded application with all the movies, correct, all the TV series, video files, huge data it is storing, so it uses S3 to store all its content, all its movie files. So for customer information, it is using RDS. For a movie information or movie files, it is using S3. So what actually it happens? So it stores all its data into this S3, simple storage device, simple storage service. So when the user logs in, he has got this catalog page, correct? So now when he tries to click on this, it will go and open up that movie and play it online, isn't it? So for that, it has to access the file which is there in S3. So when he clicks on any of the movie or any of the TV series, it goes back to this instance, okay, and refer to that particular movie which is already available in this S3 bucket. This is a collection of all the movies that are there in Netflix. So it will refer to that particular movie. Okay, it could be in any format, isn't it? It could be in a Blu-ray format, 1080 pixel or 720 pixel, isn't it? So you will be choosing based on your requirement, whichever pixel you wanted to view, isn't it? So it will have the raw file. So it will fetch that file. As I said, EC2 is a computing service. It will process your request. Let's say you wanted to view it in 1080 pixel. So this is where it get transcoded. So you have your raw file, raw movie file. It comes to here, and this is where it's gonna transcode based on your requirement that you have chosen. Okay, and finally once it is transcoded, that particular movie, it will be available for you to view online. This is what it happens when you access your Netflix. Clear? So for now, as I'm giving you a high level introduction of all these services, think that S3 is an unlimited storage service. Just think of that. We'll go in detail what this actually does in our dedicated session of S3, but for now understand this is just a huge storage service where I can store unlimited data, just like Netflix is using it for to storing its movie files. Okay, so clear what is an S3? S3 is, think that now for this session, think that this is a huge massive storage device or the service. Now, so now I've taken a Netflix example. I think now by now you have got an idea what is the flow of a Netflix. So you access www.com, and from the browser it goes to this instance, and for the customer information it tries to check in RDS. If that is validated, fine, it goes back and gives your catalog page. Now when I click on my any of the movie, it goes back to this EC2 instance and finds out that particular movie file, fetches that movie, and based on the customer information, it encodes or transcode based on the request, like 1080 or 720 pixel, or if you view it in a different any other format, it processes your data. As I said, like EC2 instances processes that data, and once that finally encoded, it gives back to the user so that he can view that movie online. So this is what the complete flow is. Okay, Any questions on this? So to this diagram, this is AWS environment in which I have put my VPC. In VPC, I have used these services, which is private to me. Okay. Only when I give access, then only anybody can access in the globe, outside world. And if you see S3, I have put it outside of my VPC, which is not in my VPC network. Okay, to just give a pictorial representation which is public and which is private, I have put it this. Any questions with this? Like we are done with our session for today. Let me know if you have any questions, whatever we have covered so far in this session.
So so why is the S3 not in the VPC?
Good question. So yeah, so there are some services which I wanted to keep it private. Okay, so that is something I have put it in my VPC, which is virtual private cloud. And S3 is something is a mass storage device, correct? It is unlimited data. That is what S3 is. But S3 has to be accessible across the regions. Like in our first session or the second session, I was talking about regions and locations. So S3 AWS has set this service in such a way that it is not restricted to one private network. If I wanted to create an S3, I would create with respect to the region that I am there. Okay, but it is not something restricted to my own private network. But still, I can restrict my S3 service to any particular user by restricting or making it private service. That you will get to know when we deep dive into this S3 topic. But for now, why AWS is giving this service outside of VPC is because this service is not specific to one private network. This is specific to one particular region. Let's say you are setting up your AWS environment in North Virginia, okay, and you have your own private virtual cloud in North Virginia and you are put it on your services there. But when you create your S3, it will not ask you to put it in your VPC. It will ask you to which region you wanted to create my S3. And the reason is, let's say I have put my S3, I have created my S3 with a name called Richard S3. So this I have created at a level of region. So this is at a global level, not at a individual private cloud level. This is at AWS level. This is my area, but this is Amazon cloud area, isn't it? So I have created a S3 bucket, okay, and you have created an S3 bucket, and the name should be unique because this is at the AWS level. But if it is at the VPS level, this is my own network. I can put my own name, and somebody else who is creating their own VPC, they can give the same name, but that because that is there in their own network, isn't it? In their own private cloud. But this is at the Amazon cloud level. So everything, whatever it is there, it should be unique across the globe. I cannot create a same name S3 in the same AWS environment in the same region. So this is at a region level, not at a VPC level. So Amazon has set this service to create at a region level, not at a VPC level. That's what Amazon has set it up that way. So that's the reason I did not put it in our virtual private code. This is not, S3 is not specific to your cloud environment. This is specific to AWS environment. But you can just because I have put it outside my VPC, it's not that everybody can access it. You can put some restrictions on this service so that nobody can access it though. Did I answer that question, Richard?
Yeah, so so is S3 always outside of your VPC then?
Exactly, you are right.
Okay.
And based on your requirement, you're gonna provide privilege or access to this S3 bucket to access by EC2 instance or anybody user outside your cloud environment. So you're gonna put all those restrictions. You're gonna
So
configure your S3 in such a way that nobody else can access it, or if you want to access it by somebody, you only give access to them. But Amazon want to give this service at a region level, not at a private cloud level. There is a reason for that. We'll get understand about that when we go deep dive into these services, maybe the S3 service.
Okay.
Any questions? Any other questions?
So can other customer data reside on the S3, or only your data can reside on the S3?
Can you please come again?
I said, can other customer data reside on the S3, or only your data can reside on the S3?
I didn't get
So when
it.
you
Can
create,
other users data? Your voice is.
no, I said like once you create, like once the S3 is created, can like do other customers' data also reside on that S3, or is it only your data that resides on the S3?
No. So this is something you created it. When you create this
Oh, okay.
S3, okay, when you create it, when you're creating this S3, that itself, there itself, it will ask you whether you wanted to keep this S3 as a public service or accessible only by you. That is a private service. So during that time
Okay.
itself, you're gonna specify it. Like if you say, if it is a public, this service is accessible to everybody. But if you say, no, I don't want to keep it public, then it is only accessible by you. Nobody else can access this. So you're gonna set those permissions while creating this S3.
Okay. Okay. So you're the one who creates the S3.
Right. So
Okay.
normally what we do, we're gonna set up our cloud infrastructure. We're gonna create our cloud infrastructure going forward. Right. Once we know all these services, what this service is, we will create our cloud infrastructure for one of the application. Okay. So then you will know which service you wanted to give access to outside world, which service you don't want to. So you're gonna decide while you're designing your cloud environment. So if for S3, to your question, while creating my S3 itself, I would be setting up those permissions whether I wanted to set it public or not. Okay, and it's not that while creating you're gonna decide everything. Later in the some point of time, if you wanted to make that change, like okay, I wanted to give this public, I can give it. Or else if you wanted to set it to private, I can also set that.
Oh, okay.
Any point of time you can go and change those settings for any of the service.
Okay.
Did I answer that question?
Yes.
Yeah. Any questions? Any other questions? Srinivas, Raghuveer. Okay, if no questions, like with that, I come to an end of this session for today. Okay, and that's all for today. Feel free to put your questions, come up with your questions for the next session so that I can answer you. Okay, we'll look into the other service uh, tomorrow. We'll deep dive into one of the service tomorrow, which and then we'll go from there. See you tomorrow at the same time.
So as far as the recorded classes, like where are they available?
The Go Online Training would team would send you those URLs. Okay, I think
Oh,
they're
okay.
yeah. So they're gonna send you that link. They have their own what is that space where they are uploading these video files, and they're gonna give you access to it, that you can go
Okay.
and access it. Check with the
Oh,
Go
okay.
Online training team, Richard. You will be having access to these videos.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. No problem. So see you at the same time tomorrow. Thank you all.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
All right. Bye.